Hi YouTube family, welcome back to another video. Today I am shooting some brand content, which is what inspired this video today. And Craig and I are gonna run out to get props because I want props for one of the shoot. The other brand actually gave like a pretty decent amount of props that I'm super happy with and I think I can get very creative with. But inspired the topic of today's video because if you haven't been following us on this channel, we don't talk about it that often, but we have hired over 400 influencers since 2016. So a couple years after starting the agency, even when influencer marketing wasn't really a thing, we started testing it back then. And since 2016, we have hired influencers from all over the world, from, I'm telling you, like California to Dubai to Italy. We have had experience working with influencers, having lots of pitches from influencers, pitching to influencers ourselves, and then also we are creators ourselves. So obviously we're creators on this YouTube channel, and you've seen that we've worked with brands on here before if you've been following us. If you aren't subscribed, be sure to subscribe. And then Craig and I, we also have our own platforms that are liquid focused, and we've been working with brands in various capacities throughout that time too. Now in this video, we want to share all of our learnings from working with brands and then also working with influencers or creators, which we'll be using kind of interchangeably because it used to be just influencer and then it became creator, and we didn't really love influencer anyways. We always called ourselves creators because influencer, everybody's an influencer, right? If you made one recommendation to a restaurant and someone did it, you're an influencer. So we like the term content creators, and that's like what's been adopted more now. So we're going to talk about this specifically through the lens of if you are someone looking to create a career for yourself, be it full-time or something that's a side hustle that will move eventually to a full-time, you're definitely going to want to know these things in terms of building a lasting career and making a true impact. So gonna jump in the car and head out, and we'll be sharing these tips as we go.
We're in trances, going off to different places, different planets. Watch your aura pass me by, losing balance. What if we run out of time and second chances?
Alright, hey guys, so we just realized this is the first time we're vlogging in our car.
Yeah, so every time you've seen us in the past vlogging a car, it's just a rental.
Yeah.
Because we lived in Australia, we didn't need a car there. We just walked everywhere and Ubered. There was literally no need. Welcome to our car.
Yeah, car chat.
Car tour. No, not that kind of party.
Car tour. Look, and there's a steering wheel and a
back seat,
window.
and there's a little moonroof.
So the first part I want to really talk about with them is the fact that it doesn't really matter how many followers you have.
Yes.
But let us explain. So do you know where I'm getting at when I'm talking about this?
Yes, so essentially almost doesn't matter how many followers you have, and everyone can work in influencer marketing is essentially what you're trying to say.
Yes,
is that
exactly,
correct?
exactly.
Okay. So there's obviously different tiers, and we've talked about that type of thing before, and most people are pretty aware. Things have changed a lot over the years as well about what these words mean, and there's no like regulating body that tells you, hey, this is what a macro influencer is, and this is what a micro, and this is what a nano, like it doesn't exist. So it's kind of just ballpark. The macro is obviously very large, 500K, a million plus type of thing. A micro influencer probably
Around the 10 to 50 mark is what we used to say.
What about nano?
Around 1 to 10.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
that's what we used to say. Now, because engagement rate matters so much more, it's like those tiers don't matter. And we've worked with influencers that had 1,000 followers up to 1 million followers, which is what we used to call like social celebrities, to like actual celebrities with 35 million followers. And in the end, it's like the principles kind of stay the same, just based on so many different factors that we're going to talk about.
One of the things with regard to this is managing expectations, both for the brand that you're working with and for yourself to know what to expect. And once again, because there's no like overarching regulation here, it's kind of the Wild West. It's like some people with 5,000 followers, for example, might charge a ton for their content and get it, and then others charge a lot less and get that too. Nobody really talks about how much money they get as well, so there's not even sort of like highly discussed so that there's like an open situation where we can all learn from each other and come to an agreement.
There was something, and I was using this a lot when paying, which was like the $10 principal per every 1,000 followers.
$10 per 1,000. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
so
kinda fair.
and that felt fair. It's kind of almost like when you think about RPM a lot of the times too.
Yep.
It's like that's like a fair rate that you're
On
getting
YouTube.
per cost per milli. It's like what we get on YouTube, for
Yeah.
example, is usually a rate per milli.
Yeah.
So we did that a lot, but in the end, the reason why, and what Craig's mentioning, why you can do either or is because when you think about the smaller creators, you are still able in certain areas to do exchanges, which is something we
Correct.
worked with a lot. And then the larger influencers, obviously you're going to be more in demand, and then you likely can command more and offer less deliverables in exchange.
Correct. And then the wild card, which Tiff alluded to before, is the quality of the content. So if
Mm-hmm.
your content is fire and brands love it and you just know it's great content that's really converting, then that makes a difference as well, because often the brand wants to, when they pay you or at least arrange a contract with you, often what they want to be left with is that content.
Exactly.
They want the reels. They, whether it's often now, a lot of them want to do a collab post, which actually makes
Yes.
more sense. Sometimes they want a bank of photos. They want the reels to be created and sent to them so they can use that exclusively.
Yeah.
So if your content is fire and you don't have as many followers, then you're in a much different position. You have a lot more to leverage. So it's not the most straightforward thing, but it is good just to be aware of what's going on. And, I find that in the world, like Tiff mentioned earlier, we do creators in the liquid space, like alcoholic beverages and things like that. So funnily enough, in the space for our podcast, we've been doing it a long time, like 8 years with the pod. And that's a lot, that's pretty, early days, I
Yeah,
would say.
for sure.
That's why we're one of the longest running podcasts of our niche in Canada. And a lot of people joined that niche on Instagram and sort of like might get 200 followers and then start hitting up businesses wanting free stuff. And the businesses get pretty upset about that because these people aren't generating value. It's just they think that that's, the fact that they've got some followers, it's worth something. And sometimes it is, more times it's not. And that's kind of what I mean about expectations. Like if you've got a couple hundred followers, not super likely that a brand is going to be willing to work with you unless your engagement rate is 100% or something like
Yeah,
that.
I'd say like at 1,000 is like where you can start entertaining it really.
Yes.
And you have to make a really good case for yourself. So on that part of like followers don't matter, the two things that you have to consider is one, what Craig mentioned, the content, because if your content is fire, then a brand will work with you or may work with you like we did. And the reason that we'll do that is because we want a lot more content in exchange. So we would ask for more deliverables. So we may ask for 20 images or 20 assets in exchange for it, especially depending on what we're giving. And then we'd obviously ask for collab posts. And then the other thing is how you come to us. So like a big part was like if someone came and they're like, hey, usually coming to us as in behalf of our clients, if they're like, hey, I see that the brand is doing this campaign, they're doing XYZ, if you come correct, and we'll talk a bit more about that, and your media kit is on point, and we'll also, we want to do a video on media kit. A few people requested it in
From
that
our
other
last,
video.
brand video.
And definitely go check out the video that we did, which is how to pitch to brands. It'll be up there. But a big part of it is how you come to the brand too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so important. And the professionalism it's interesting even as a company hiring people, the way people present themselves. It doesn't take much to stand out these
Exactly.
days. It really doesn't. And just having that inch of professionalism changes everything. And
Exactly.
you can really set yourself above the crowd, particularly when there is quite a crowd in this sort of world.
Yeah. And then the next thing that we want to talk about is the importance of having a competitive edge.
Yes.
And I would say this has benefited us a lot. So a competitive edge in terms of what makes you stand out in comparison to another influencer who might be pitching to a brand. What makes you more than just a pretty photo or pretty reel? And for us, one of the specifics that we can think about, and we've actually hit a few tiers here, like not to toot our own horn, but we're also marketers, so obviously like
We're fortunate, yeah.
we understand both sides of it, and that's why we're going to continue to talk to you all about this, because we've seen the side of hiring and we've seen the side of being the creator as well. But having different skills. So for example, a competitive edge that we have is that we are Facebook and Instagram ad experts. So what we can also offer a brand on top of it is paid amplification. So this is something that we love to also do with influencers, where we'll hire them and then we'll do a collab post and then we'll boost that collab post. So we'll create an ad campaign out of that. What's beneficial now is when we're doing packages, when we don't even pitch that often for ourselves. Most times people come to us because we have the agency side, which is more of our priority. When we do speak to people and we start saying like, oh, these are our rates, we always show the rate that it's like, hey, and we can also amplify it on our feeds. And why brands like that is because content always is responded to better. It's like amplifying the influencer principle, where coming from an influencer or creator is much more beneficial than coming from a brand, and we can do that, and we can create ads for clients based on that. Correct. We got a really great like 5-figure campaign last year. You're about to talk about it? Because I remember the ad was such a big part of it. Yeah.
It was the vast majority of it. It was the content creation, and then the rest was ads.
Yeah, content creation and posting, and we had like 3 or 4 posts.
And then I think it was 4 posts and then 4 ads. So we had to create 8 different things. We had to get them translated. So basically, when we were living in Montreal, we had a brewery in Ontario who were moving into Quebec.
Yeah.
And they approached us because we were the primary larger creators who rode the line between the 2 provinces. So they came to us to create the content and then to make the ads, because they knew we were an agency and we were able to execute on that. And that was by far the biggest one-time deal that we'd ever gotten. And it was because of those additional skills, and because we made that aware. So diversifying your skill set and being able to offer more than just being a photographer, editor, video, all that stuff is great. It really is. But to be able to just do a little bit more, that'll take you over the edge for sure.
100%. And even when we're thinking about the skill set, so advertising being one, and if you are interested in ads and you don't know where to start, don't know how to run them, we just did an Instagram ads video, complete tutorial. It's a long one for beginners, but it's long because it's super in-depth, so it'll be up there. And what Craig was mentioning earlier about even just like being a photographer and videographer, if you up your skill set in that. So if you set yourself apart where like your editing is just beautiful, it's different from what other people are doing. Honestly, we've also hired photographers in kind of like that. They are creators, right? They just might not be like the same lifestyle that we might be used to, like the lifestyle, food, that type of section. It's more like they're creating their photos and using Instagram to further their business. But we've hired them because it's like, if you're making just incredible content, the brand's going to want that too. So then all of a sudden you're thinking about, hey, I'm going to this trip to Italy. Maybe I should hit up a few hotel brands and see if they want some good content, because if your content's fire, most people are going to want that. Like, content is so key right now, which we say on the channel all the time. So leveling up your skills, you know what that mean? Like, you're going to Skillshare, you're taking some courses, you're doing whatever, you're just doing trial and error on YouTube all the time, then that's really going to benefit you, because content is another thing that has benefited us greatly. And for the platform that I really manage, that is focused on liquids as well, because we're just a liquid family over here. A lot of the time, like, content has been the extra piece that people ask. They're like, can you post? But can we also please get like 20 images as well to use on our platforms, because they like the photography that I'm doing over there. So that's a key part. And then business acumen as well. So and then business acumen, I think, is also key. And that kind of speaks to the way that you approach, the way that you evaluate and you do research on the company so that you can come to them correctly is also very big. Because sometimes people had like such a good kit, and maybe like it took me a while to kind of get to the using the nano influencers, but some of them started coming just so correctly with like these beautiful kits, saying the campaign, sometimes they even had campaign ideas and things like that, and I'm like, you're giving me a full package and your content's beautiful. If your engagement rate is high enough, and like we're in like a 6 to 9% range on someone with 3,000 followers, I'm going for it.
That's a great point. And I think the other thing as well, what a brand does not want to feel like is that they were just a recipient of another spam mass email. Exactly. So like what Tiff mentioned,
those are the worst.
Aren't they the worst? And you can think about it, right? The person on the other end of that email is just a human who's working for that company.
And who is, if it's a larger company, is likely getting so many of those emails every day. Like,
and if you annoy them, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I felt annoyed. I'm like, I don't want to give this person anything. I don't like the way they came at us.
And then the other thing you really need to be aware of is that your social presence is your business card, right? It's super key. Something we're always looking for when we're hiring influencers or creators is like, how is their social presence? Like, is their bio completely filled out and clean? Is the profile in the tip-top shape? How are they engaging with their community? Because that's a big part too. So it's not even just the engagement rate. It's like, are you in the DMs replying back? Because that's super key to us, and knowing that you'll likely convert. How consistent are your posts? Was the last time you posted like 3 months ago? Because then you're not treating this as like your real business, so I don't know how you're going to treat ours. And also you might be falling off a little bit or something like that, and we don't want to take the risk of the posts that we collaborate on together not doing well.
And are they like power users across platform. So, most people obviously are sticking around on Instagram and that's their primary, but are they doing well on TikTok? Are they doing well on YouTube? Are they doing well on Facebook or Twitter?
Yeah.
Primarily, we found it was Instagram and TikTok were the main two. Probably the third might have been YouTube.
Yeah, and honestly, we don't view TikTok as highly as we do
that's another interesting.
The other platforms, so that's something to consider because it's easier to grow on. And we did talk about that, and we'll get to that in a second too, in terms of like diversifying your profiles.
Yeah.
But one thing I do want to point out is something that we always had as like a red flag was that if hi there, sir. Sir, may I continue filming
good,
this
buddy?
video here? Okay, so another thing that we're always considering too, especially because brands are looking at conversions, right? So we're looking at, if we hire you, how will you convert? So if you have 70,000 followers on TikTok and 800 on Instagram, I'm not going to believe in the power of your influence and much less likely to hire you.
Point.
So you need to focus on building across each platform and not just focusing on one of the platforms.
If you have a strong and legitimate following on one platform, it's highly likely that that platform is going to move across to another one. Like, maybe it won't be exact.
Bear.
So yeah, keep that in mind as well. And that's what we're looking at. Like, when people, when I say we, I mean brands. People are looking for that. So it's something to be really, conscious of. If you've got like a big following on one thing and then hardly anything on another, it's almost better not to mention the other one, because it's not really going to do you any favors. He's just
I'm just like, he completely
my new co-host,
just
Barrington.
took over my... Barrington, don't you see I'm in here filming a video? You're so fun. Okay, sir, can I move you over here?
Good boy.
Thank you so much. Good boy.
So with that, like, diversifying your presence is very key. You want to have at least 2 platforms with strong following. If you've got a great Instagram following and a great YouTube following, but you're like 200 followers on Twitter, probably don't even include the Twitter there. But
exactly.
It shows a brand that, like, oh, this person's a real creator because they've bothered and put the time and energy and effort into building an audience on multiple platforms.
Yeah.
And it's just so important.
And honestly, Instagram and YouTube are the 2 ones that you really want to build, okay?
Could not agree more.
The only other exception to that rule is if you have a podcast that is doing extremely well,
That is
because you can
valuable.
show your downloads.
Yes, and that converts extremely well and
Yes.
is very difficult to grow. I'd probably say a podcast is the hardest to grow out of all of the different platforms.
Without question. YouTube is like the 3rd hardest. I think TikTok is the easiest.
Yes.
Then Instagram, then YouTube, then podcasts.
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to mention that I noticed when I was running the inbox for a while, the other most important thing that's going to keep brands working with you is follow-up. More times, the creators did not deliver, or we had to hassle them to deliver what we either paid them to deliver or gave them an in-kind gift to deliver. That was infuriating. So think about it from a brand. If they've given you a hotel room and prepared it, and think about all the work that has to go into that. Or if a brand has gone and packaged up all of their stuff and sent it out to you and paid for that shipping and, all of that type of stuff, and then expecting the post to go out or the content to be sent across, if they have to hassle you for it, particularly if there's an agreed upon due date, and a lot of these have contracts, so like you already know when it's due by. Like, no one does, we're adults here, you don't have to be told. A lot of times people didn't do it, and it was very frustrating. So the ones that proactively did it and came through, like, hi Tiffany, here's everything, here's the 5 photos. I actually threw in a couple more and a reel there for you. It was a great trip, thank you so much. I'd love to work with you again, we'll keep in touch. Like, something just really small and kind like that, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Then immediately the automatic feeling of the person running that brand, I'm like, oh wow, this person's awesome, this content's great, it's exactly what we wanted. And they were friendly, and they were easy to deal with, and they did it without me having to ask. Sometimes I had to follow up with people 2, 3, 4 times.
Yeah.
Because I'm asking you, like, hey, did this person send it? And I'm checking, like, oh, nothing. And you're like,
Yeah.
can you follow up? And it gets pretty ridiculous. So I think that's just this. It's always about the small things. I think at this 2023, in this time of life, the things that matter most are the small things, and that's what's going to separate you from the crowd and get you some success in this field.
100%. All right, so that's it for this video. We're going to be building out a series, really just speaking more to influencer marketing and being a creator, because we know like that's a large focus for everybody these days, and we've realized that there are more creators in our audience than we thought. So
Yes.
we want to make sure we're making content for you all. So definitely stay tuned for that. In the meantime, if you haven't seen our video about how to get brand deals and brand partnerships. Definitely recommend you check that out. Going to go pick up the lavender, and which is one of the props that I want for this photo shoot that I'm going to do, and dinner as well, but that has nothing to do with this video technically. But
oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But it was so nice seeing you all. Definitely, if you have questions, topics, or anything like that that you want us to cover, let us know. We will see you in the next video. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe below, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any other videos from us, and you can follow us everywhere at High Seas & Co. Check out the next video that is going to be right here, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Peace.